This video is going to be an introduction to the topic of Gibbs free energy, and then I have several companion videos where we'll look at some examples of calculations related to this topic. So Gibbs free energy is a thermodynamic variable that will allow us to predict whether a process is spontaneous or not by only considering the system. Previously, we talked about how we can use entropy to do that, but we have to consider the entropy of the whole universe. And so Gibbs free energy is a more convenient way for determining whether a process is spontaneous or not, because we only have to consider the system. So the formal definition of Gibbs free energy is it's the enthalpy minus the temperature times the entropy. But much like enthalpy and internal energy, determining the total free energy of a system is really hard. And so most often we'll talk about the change in Gibbs free energy between the reactants and products, or the starting point and the ending point. And so that's given by the delta G of the system is equal to delta H of the system minus T times delta S of the system. And we'll talk about this more in later slides or later videos, but the Gibbs free energy also tells us the maximum amount of work that we can get out of a chemical reaction, assuming we're at constant temperature and pressure, but that is often the case. All right, so the sign of Gibbs free energy tells us whether or not a reaction is spontaneous. So in previous lesson plans and videos, we saw that for a reaction to be spontaneous, the delta S of the universe has to be greater than 0. When we consider delta G, all we have to do is consider delta G of the system. And if delta G of the system is less than 0, then that means that process will be spontaneous. So again, one of the reasons we're interested in Gibbs free energy is because we only have to consider the system to predict spontaneity and not the whole universe. And so typically we'll stop using the system label when we talk about free energies because it'll be understood. If we're ever not talking about the system, then we'll specifically use the labels for whether we're talking about the system or the surroundings. But again, if delta G for the system, or typically we'll just say delta G, if that's negative, the reaction is spontaneous. If delta G is positive, then that process or that reaction is not spontaneous, but it means that the reverse reaction is spontaneous. And then if delta G is equal to 0, that means that reaction or process is at equilibrium. All right, so we've talked previously that whether a reaction is spontaneous or not often has a strong temperature dependence. And so then it's probably not surprising, since delta G predicts spontaneity, that it also has a strong dependence on temperature, meaning it can change a lot when we change the temperature. And typically, we treat delta H and delta S as if they don't depend on temperature. And you can see this plot on the right where it plots what are the values of delta H, delta S, and delta G for this reaction. And this is just for this specific reaction, but this is pretty typical of what these quantities look like for other reactions. You can see that delta H and delta S do change a little bit with temperature, but not nearly as much as delta G. So delta G definitely depends on temperature, and we almost never treat it as if it doesn't. Very often we make the approximation that we treat delta H and delta S as if they don't depend on temperature. So I encourage you, take a look at some of the other videos where I'll do some example calculations where we look more in depth at this temperature dependence and do some calculations with it. All right, now just like we did with enthalpy and entropy, we can define standard state Gibbs free energies. And we indicate that by putting a naught after it, right? So in words, we would say this is delta G naught, and this is the standard state free energy, and it works just like standard state enthalpies and entropies. Now, it turns out for delta H and delta S, the difference between delta G and delta G naught oftentimes isn't that significant. For delta G, the meaning of delta G and delta G naught actually takes on greater significance, but we'll save that topic for a later video. But just like we did with enthalpies, we can calculate delta G naughts of reaction using tabulated standard Gibbs free energies of formation. And the Gibbs free energies of formation work just like enthalpy. We can add up the free energies of formation of the products, subtract from that the free energies of formation of the reactants, and that can tell us the change in Gibbs free energy for a reaction. And just like enthalpies, the free energy of formation for elements in their standard states is defined to be 0. But one thing we have to be careful about, because delta G depends so strongly on temperature, you have to pay attention to what temperature the free energies of formation are tabulated for. And this is almost always 298 Kelvin, but you need to be careful and make sure that that is the case. If we want to know delta G naught at a different temperature, then we can calculate delta H and delta S from the tables, and then use this equation to get delta G at those different temperatures. And again, I'm sort of farming this out to different example videos. And so I have some example videos where we look specifically at calculating free energies from the free energies of formation, or for different temperatures, how we could do that with delta H and delta S. All right, and so we can also apply Hess's law to free energies, just like we did with enthalpies. And so actually, to emphasize that, I've taken the slide that I use in Chem 1 when I talk about Hess's law and enthalpy, and I've just changed wherever I had delta H, I just replaced it with delta G, because it works exactly the same way. So Hess's law tells us that when we have related chemical reactions, those delta G's are also going to be related. And so there are three things that we can typically do with Hess's law. So we can multiply a whole reaction by some constant. So if I have this reaction and I compare it to this one, and I want to know if I know the delta G for this first reaction, this second reaction is just the first one multiplied by the constant 3. And so to get delta G for this new reaction, all I have to do is multiply the original delta G by the same constant. So to get delta G for this new reaction, I would just multiply 153 kilojoules times 3. And that gives me 459 kilojoules. Another thing we can do with Hess's law is reverse reactions. So this reaction is just the reverse of this reaction. And just like delta H, when I reverse reactions, all it does is change the sign on delta G. So the delta G reaction for this new reaction would be negative 459 kilojoules. All right, and then perhaps most importantly, another aspect of Hess's law is that when I add reactions, then I just have to sum the delta G's to get the delta G for the new reaction. So if I was to add these two reactions, the C's would cancel, and so I'd end up with A plus 2B goes to 2D. And then in that case, since I just added those reactions, I would add these delta G's. And so 153 plus a negative 200 is going to give me negative 47 kilojoules. All right, and as with other examples, so I have more examples involving Hess's law in a separate video. So please check that out if you're interested.